Hello everyone, welcome. My name is Rachel Melito and I'm the marketing coordinator at Yale School of Management Executive Education. We hope that you're doing well and we appreciate you taking the time to join us for this introduction to Yale's CIMA prep course, Investment Management Theory and Practice. This is our 8th year offering this program, and in that time we've worked with over 3,000 candidates. Today, we really encourage you to listen and engage. Please don't hesitate to ask any questions. This time is really for you. Our program director, Jim Dobbs, is very knowledgeable, and this is a great opportunity for you to pick his brain. To ask questions, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. You can either submit your question to everyone or just to me, but I suggest you send it to everyone as there may be similar questions in mind. If you have any technical issues, please send those directly to me via the chat. Now to introduce our program director. Jim Dobbs is CIMA certified. He is also CFP and CPWA certified. He was a financial advisor for 25 years and ran his own RIA practice before retiring to work full-time in his financial education company. Jim has worked with different certifying bodies and universities for the last 20 years, helping build and manage financial certification programs. More importantly, though, Jim has had extensive experience with the Investments and Wealth Institute. He personally helped create the CPWA certification and has served IWI in many roles, including as chair of IWI's Technical Advisory Board. You will see he's very passionate about what he does. Jim is committed to success, and he measures his success based on yours. Please welcome Jim Dobbs.
Well, thank you very much. Can you see and hear me okay, Rachel?
Yep, all good.
Wonderful. Well, hey everyone, and welcome. Let's talk about CIMA certification. Let's talk about our program if you do choose to enter candidacy, what that process looks like. And then I want to spend a fair amount of time during our session going through just expectations. What would you expect in coming through our fully online self-study program? Because it is a bit different from some of the other programs out there. We'll take about an hour. It really depends on you guys, how many questions you have, but feel free. Send us any and every question that you have. If it's personal, like I'm not sure if CIMA's right for me because here's my background, that kind of thing, just shoot me an email. I'll give you my email a couple times along the way. And then maybe we can have a side conversation by phone or email, talk about your specifics if you don't want to share them on the webinar today. All right, so we're here to talk about Certified Investment Management Analyst, CIMA, C-I-M-A, of course. And this is really an investment certification, just like CFA, really just investments versus CFP, CPWA, which both have investments and a bunch of other things. And I think the best way I can explain CIMA is this is really for just about all of the investment professionals, including myself back in the day, versus CFA, which is a deeper, much more technical quantitative dive, where I, as a registered investment advisor and financial planner and financial advisor, I wanted my investment managers, those that I picked to fill out the portfolios I managed for and recommended to my clients, I wanted them to be CFAs. I wanted them to have that level of technical skill. CIMA is not as deep and it's not as quantitative. It was created by professors and practitioners, I think it's now 40 years ago, who were like, yeah, CFA is great, but I don't think most investment professionals need to go that far. So let's create the next best thing and just not go as deep because I just don't think they have to go there. So that's how CIMA came about. And I think it's a great certification. Don't get me wrong, it is challenging. We'll talk about the rigor in a little bit. You've seen the numbers here as you've been staring at the slide while I've been rambling on. Yeah, CIMAs do have more wallet share. They typically have more assets under management, bring in more revenue, and have more income. The reason I say that is, yeah, just to build some credibility, of course, but some of you work in firms where you still need to get authorization. You still need to get a manager's blessing and hopefully even some reimbursement for this. IWI, I think, has some good information on their website, third party, which I think helps, that shows the difference between not just demographics, but in business success metrics of CIMA, CFPs, CFAs, CPWAs, and a few others, and then those who don't hold any of those marks. So go to their website and go into the little section under CIMA on why should I choose CIMA, and maybe you can get some good information to share with your boss or your manager if that's helpful. All right, so I mentioned IWI, Investments in Wealth Institute. They are your certifying body, not us at Yale. We provide an education course that is registered with IWI. That means it's been approved as a qualified education course. And then we do it a little differently in our program. We just baked the test prep into our program along with our course at Yale. And the thinking there from the get-go was, look, I've been through this process. I was a practitioner when I got all my certifications, just like you guys. And man, if you can streamline it for me, because there's usually a lot of material and you can make it more efficient for me to get through. I don't want to rush it and, shortcut anything, but just don't have me waste a lot of time. So that was the idea of bringing the test prep into the program right next to the course. I'll show you what the layout looks like in just a minute. But yeah, if you're not familiar with IWI, you need to be, because once you get certified, you're going to send them your annual dues. You're going to submit your CE to them, not us at Yale. We're here to, again, help you with the education side and help you pass that exam on your first attempt. Fortunately, the vast majority of our candidates are passing the CIMA exam on their first attempt, and our pass rates have gone way up, as you'll see on IWI's website. We're not allowed to post them on our website. You got to go to theirs, but I'll share a link with you in a little bit on that. But since the new exam came out in August, I've been very, very proud of our candidates in that regard. All right, so I'll show you the process for CIMA certification in just a minute. Some of you probably still doing your due diligence to see if this is the right certification for you, although I imagine some of you are like locked and loaded and ready to go, ready to pick a path. Before you apply for candidacy, which is what they call it, CIMA candidacy, there's an online application that you fill out. If you think you might qualify, and staring at this slide for a little while there, for any of those scholarships, I mean, they start at $1,000. So I think you'll want to do that. Now, that being said, they do have a limited budget over at IWI. And I know it goes in rolling periods, and we never know when it starts and stops and whatever. But it may be worth just jumping on their website before you apply for candidacy and seeing if you qualify. Now, at Yale, we don't have any discounts or scholarships to offer for this particular program, but IWI does. So, probably doesn't hurt to apply for the scholarship. And I think ideally they want you to do that before you apply for candidacy. If you've already applied for candidacy, then you'll just need to reach out to them and see, well, like, how does that go? Because I forgot to apply. Okay, so the process itself, pretty easy. So once you choose to move forward with CIMA certification, you're going to go submit your application online. I'll give you a link to that in a minute. And when you're filling out the application, that's when you choose your education provider. So right now you've got Yale and you've got Chicago. If you're in Australia, there's a school down there. And the primary difference between Yale and I have no objectivity. I'm totally biased. But the Yale, big differences I think between Yale and Chicago is I think theirs is all fully online now. It used to not be. They were the in-person program, but more and more candidates want to do online. Ours is completely asynchronous on demand. So we stopped doing you need to show up on a Tuesday night or in these times windows. We stopped doing that many, many years ago because we realized you guys just want to study when you want to study. So everything's on demand in ours. And I'll show you the process in a little bit. We want you just to be able to move as fast or slow as you want to go. And so if it was synchronous, you'd kind of be put in a box or a class, if you will, and that could slow you down or speed you up, and either one would maybe not be so good. So we think the on-demand is the best way to go. Now, I'll also say I think our content is awesome. I'm not going to speak to the Chicago booths, but I think our education content is awesome. And I'm pretty sure nobody's got more comprehensive test prep than we do, but that's another story. Okay, pass the certification exam after you pass our course. I'll show you how to pass our course in a minute. And then once you've passed the certification exam, you're going to send your paperwork. They're going to send you licensing paperwork. You're going to sign that, send that back to IWI. They're going to run one more background check just to make sure you're still in compliance. And you'll pay your first annual certification fee to them. They'll let you know, hey, Jim, congratulations, you've done everything now. You are certified and you may use the mark. So that's how the process goes. Okay, I'm just going to talk maybe one or two more slides, and then Rachel, let's see if we've got any early questions. So, hey, look, anything's fair game. This time's for you guys. So anything about the certification or our program, totally good to go. Just shoot those into the chat there. So we already talked about CIMA and CFA a little bit. I'll just hammer this one home one more time. And I'll start by saying I talk with financial advisors every single week of the year. I think it helps because I was one for so many years before retiring. And I think CFA is awesome. It's just, I think it's best if you think you're going to be an institutional money manager, you know, you want to go manage $1 billion mutual fund or ETF or separate accounts for Merrill or Nuveen or PIMCO or Vanguard or Fidelity or Schwab or whoever, then I think CFA is definitely the way to go. That is the path you need to take because you're going to need those skills regardless. So you might as well get the charter along the way. If you're going to be a securities analyst, but most securities analysts have some inclination, some desire to become an institutional money manager. Securities analyst, again, CFA is the route to go. If you're going to be a chief investments officer, a CIO of an investment management company, I think CFA is probably the best way to go. But other than those three, I think CIMA is probably the best thing out there. Not probably, in my mind, it is, and that's why I hooked up to that train as a designee and then started working with IWI, I think coming up on 20 years ago now. CFP and CPWA, financial planning, obviously, on CFP, which has an investments sleeve or section, if you will, but that's just one part of it. CPWA is our sister certification program at Yale to CIMA. And that is really like, okay, your CFP or CFP equivalent, but your clients are really wealthy now, or your client base has evolved, or you want to start moving into that space. It's really a more advanced financial planning type of certification, wealth management certification. So it's just a deeper dive into what you probably saw when you were going through your CFP studies. Now, that being said, the last thing I want to point out is, well, two more things. One is for our candidates, it's about 6 months. It's actually a little less time to completion for most once our candidates get started. And there is some leeway there, I'll show you in a minute. But it's not shorter because it's easier. It's not shorter because the tests, the certification exams are easier. They're not. They're very challenging. It's just there's less content to go through in CIMA compared to CFA, and there's less content to go through in CPWA versus CFP. So still very, very rigorous. And I would say that the CIMA certification exam on a question by question basis is more challenging than the questions you typically get on sitting for a CFP exam. Oh, I did want to mention the minimum work experience. That was the last thing I want to mention on this slide. So for CIMA, it's 3 years. It doesn't have to be strictly or exclusively investments. Financial services usually works. Really depends on your role and your responsibilities. If you're not sure, you could shoot me an email, jim.dobbs@yale.edu, and I'll give you another one in a minute. And I'll be happy to give you a quick take, but IWI is going to make that call because they are processing your application and determining whether you qualify. That being said, the caveat to that now wasn't this way 10 years ago, but now it is. You can start CIMA certification. You can start the process before hitting your 3 years. So we do have a handful out of, say, 600 currently in our program. Probably a dozen don't have their 3 years yet, but they wanted to get a jump start on this and knock this out. And then the only thing they'd have to do is wait to hit the 3 years before they could use their mark. So that's possible too. I think that's more challenging because you probably haven't seen much of this information before, but that's possible. It's doable if you're so inclined. All right, I'm going to let you stare at the kind of top level of the curriculum, and I'm going to make you an offer in just a minute regarding the curriculum. But Rachel, let's see if anybody's out there with questions.
No questions yet.
Okay, well, don't be bashful. Jump on in. Otherwise, it's just going to be me yakking away for another 30 or 40 minutes. Okay, the curriculum, this is what it looks like broad-based, and I want to show you this before I show you the longer version. I think it's really, really important if you're still considering whether CIMA is right for you, like the certification. I think you want to look at the content. Now, I always recommend looking at the certifying body first. Well, IWI is above reproach. I mean, they do accredited certifications, and almost nobody other than CFP board does that. So it's one of the reasons I was attracted to them in the first place. They really take this seriously. Their tests are well thought out. There's a very specific procedure and they're very rigorous. So I think that's all good for the industry, and I think it's good for our clients. But you also want to make sure the content lines up, right? So you've been looking at this for about a minute or so. I think you want to look at the 5-pager. It's like a color-coded with test weightings version of this with all 500 topics on it. And if you're going down that list going, yeah, this is what I do, or I need to get better at this, or wow, I don't even know much about this, but I think I need, then that's great. That means you're probably on the right track regarding this curriculum, the content that we're going to cover. But if you're like through a lot of it and you're like, I don't know, maybe half of it, well, then no, I probably wouldn't. I mean, it's going to take you 100 or more hours to get it. So I think there's an opportunity cost that could be lost if you move forward with a certification that's really not going to be that helpful. Now, there's one caveat to that. I realize some of you work for firms and in roles where either, yes, some firms require that to hit a certain level, you have to have a CIMA or maybe a CFA. And then in some cases, you make more money if you have a CIMA. That's a thing. And then there are other situations where they just strongly prefer you to have a CIMA, and it could hinder you moving up if you don't have it. So I get it. Some of you just feel like you have to get it. But for those of you who have a real conscious choice, I want you to go through the content. So we're going to do fundamentals. This is kind of like a business school refresher, because a lot of you haven't been in school for a while formally. Investments review, domain 2, as they call these, domain 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's really like a series exams. It's the 7+ a review of things that you probably saw in your 7 when you're studying for your 7 and maybe your blue sky tests. Then we get into the fun stuff, third domain, portfolio theory and behavioral finance all mixed together. I think that's brilliant because as a longtime practitioner, you can be really, really smart. But if I can't control my own emotions and thoughts and behaviors, let alone try to help my clients, then we can have a wonderful portfolio. But if I make a mistake, it goes all out the window. And if they make a mistake and get nervous or antsy or stressed out, and I haven't prepared them well for what's going to happen out there in the marketplace, which is going to impact their portfolio, which is going to impact that statement they get every month, well, then it really doesn't matter. So I think behavioral finance is absolutely critical. Love that they've really beefed up the content in this certification. Risk and return, and then we're kind of back into the math in domain 4, just going through all the different metrics that financial advisors, investment advisors, consultants, and managers use. I think this is great for those of you, whether you're discretionary managers or not. I was through my own RIA, but I realize many of you are not yet, and that's fine. But when you have salesmen, wholesalers come to you, it's nice to be able to really understand what's going on, to ask better questions. And for those of you who are wholesalers, which does make up about 30% of our candidate base at Yale, I think understanding what the advisors are going to be wanting from you is going to be very helpful. And then domain 5 just pulls it all together. It's not really a whole lot of new content in domain 5. It's just pulling it all together in a more practical, client-focused kind of way. All right, so here's my offer. Here's the long version with all the 500 topics and subtopics. shoot me an email, Jim Dobbs, or jim.dobbs@yale.edu, or jim@dobbseducation.com. That works too. I'll be happy. I mean, you can find this on our website. You can find this on IWI's website, of course. But if it's easier, just send me an email. I'll send you this and the lovely formula sheet, the candidate handbook, and just kind of a summary of our time today. Although, that being said, Rachel's going to send out the recording, a link to the recording and the slides next week. But if you don't want to wait, you can just send me an email. I'll be happy to get this to you. Hey, speaking of the formula sheet, so every certification is a little bit different. It's a 2-pager here for CIMA, and you will have it on your test. So you don't have to memorize any of these. And as you can see, pretty cool versus some other certifications. They even tell you what what you're looking at. Now, looking at some of these, many of these, you should be able to go, yeah, I know. From all my studies, I know that's tracking error. I know that's trainer ratio. I know that's information ratio, etc. But what you need to do for the exam is you need to know what these are, what they measure, why you would want to use them, and when it would be best to use this versus something else. A good example of that is Jensen's alpha or alpha. There's a lot of different ways to do alpha, of course, but they just test on Jensen's alpha compared to information ratio. So information ratio is like alpha there, as you see, as the numerator, but then it's based on standard deviation or tracking error over time. So it's consistency of alpha. So you need to know those kind of differences for your test because you won't have to remember the formula. It's going to be right in front of you. You just got to know which one to use. So that's how they handle the formula. That being said, I will say this, in my almost 20 years of working with IWI, the math focus on the certification exam has come down quite a bit. When I started doing this, and then when I got my certification, I would say it wasn't half, but maybe 40% of the exam was computational or math related. I'm going to say it's no more than 20% now, somewhere between 15 and 20% is math or math related. So it definitely has come down, but there's still a lot to learn, and we'll show you what we think you need to know versus what we don't think you'll need to know in our test prep. Okay, I'm going to stop and let you look at our kind of our own goals and objectives in helping you, but let's see if we've got any questions yet. Don't see any, but maybe.
Yeah, Jim, there's one question here.
Yay.
Asking, are you eligible to be a candidate for the exam if you are not in the United States?
Oh, good question. Yes, you are. So IWI over the last several years, so it hadn't been that long, really started making more of a push to make CIMA a global certification. I think that's a really smart move for a number of reasons, but they had to do some things along the way. One was tweak the topic list and the certification exam. There's a few things, but think regulations and think tax. Yeah, each of the different, I'm part-time in Singapore myself, so the rules, the taxation and the regulation and compliance are different. And they're different across every country to some degree, some more and some less. So they really had to get that out of the exam, and they've gone ahead and done that. So yeah, it really doesn't matter where you're in the world. CPWA, not the case. That is a very US specific curriculum, but CIMA is global. So good question. Yeah, not a problem. Was that it, Rachel? Any more questions?
Yes, that was it.
Okay, good question. Keep them coming. All right, so goals and objectives. Yeah, clearly we want to cover all the topics, and either in our course curriculum or in the test prep, we're going to cover all of those 500 and then some. I would argue there's more closer to 1,000 when you count the subtopics as well, in addition to those line items. So if we think it's important or complex and we really need to explain it, help you understand it, then we're going to go through it. Again, there's course level and there's a test prep. I'll talk about those in a minute. The second one's the one I'm most excited about, because when I talk to you guys in person, like at conferences and meetings and events and that kind of thing, whether it's here in the US or Singapore or anywhere in Asia that I might be, it's great to hear your experiences, like how this helped you, how your practice is going, what are you struggling with, how are things going well. And and we want to make this as practical as possible. Now, you see the last bullet point. I get it. I was in your chair once upon a time as well. At the end of the day, you want to pass the certification exam and get certified. I totally understand. And I'll explain how we take you through the material in a minute with that goal in mind. But the one in the middle is the most exciting because, like, if we can make it practical to where you can plug this into your practice, into your job now, help you sell better, help you bring in better and more clients, help you serve those clients better, then that's the goal. That's the primary goal in my opinion. So that really is what we're trying to do. Yes, for you MBAs out there, yeah, that's not necessarily a smart goal because it's hard to measure, but I think it's still important. Okay, a little bit of nuts and bolts here. About $6,000, about just under $6,000 US. And that, if you choose the Yale, you'll have to check out FBI's website. The prices go up and down between the different options that you have. But our price is $5,995 US, and that includes really everything. So that's your CIMA candidacy through IWI. That's everything that you're going to see just in a minute at Yale, including test prep, which again is unique compared to other programs. And you don't need to buy anything else. There's not actually a whole lot else out there to buy, but you don't need to buy it, even if Kaplan and Wiley both had test prep products. But since most candidates come through Yale, I'm guessing there just wasn't enough business for them, so they kind of went away. But suffice to say, everything you need to be successful, to master this content, and to pass the certification exam, I believe, are found in this program. We don't have official start dates because we're open registration, if you will, kind of rolling registrations. When we set it up, we thought long and hard about that. But since we're going asynchronous on demand, I want you just to be able to come in whenever you want, whenever works for you. So here's two examples of that. One, you look out over the next 3 months and you go, well, that doesn't look so good. I've either got a lot of summer stuff planned, or this is a busy time in my practice, or I have social, or charitable responsibilities, and they're really heavy in this part of the year. Well, don't start now. Just wait till you clear those hurdles and then come on in. But if you look out over the next 3 or 4 months and go, well, it's always busy, Jim, but it's not any busier than any other time of my year or my calendar, then that's probably a good time. I think you want to start when you've got motivation and a clear enough calendar to where you can get going. Because one of the keys is get in there, start chipping away at it, knock it out. Don't string it out, even though we give you that latitude. I wouldn't do that. Higher test scores, higher pass rates come from a couple of things. One, those who don't string it out for a year, they get it done in a matter of months instead. And those who take their certification exam pretty quickly after passing the course. And I'll share that with you in just a minute. So if you got a year, as I mentioned, and you can see in print here on your slide, and so you get access for a year, whichever comes first, getting certified, or a year. And if you run out of time, there's kind of a safety net for a couple extra $1,000 US, $2,250 right now is the price. You can buy yourself access for another year, but we really don't want you to do that. We want you to go ahead and get certified. Since it takes 6 months or less for most of our candidates to complete certification once they get started, just don't delay. Just get in there and knock it out. It's not rocket science. It's rigorous, but it's doable for most of you. So just get it done. And then if you were in a pinch and you're like, okay, but Kevin just sent me an email, or Kelly just sent me an email, I've only got a month left, I know I can't get it all done in just a month. Well, then just pass our course tests, which you do need to be online for, and then just download all of our test prep study off your own hard drive. We're fine with that as long as you don't share it with anybody. So that would be your workaround if you didn't want to pay $2,250 for a second year. But again, the vast majority of you should not even have to consider needing another year. All right, so flexibility and convenience, we've already alluded to some of that, or at least I have. Ongoing enrollment or registration, 100% online. It is fully self-study. on demand. You can download, copy, print, and save. Just don't share it with anybody. And you can study at your own pace. I think that's huge. The record, I'm not tempting any of you, but the record for logging into our course and then passing the certification exam and earning certification is 14 days. So that is doable. That's possible. Now that's an exceptional candidate, right? That's way out there on the population-based curve. But if you want to speed through this and fast track it, it's really up to you. I mean, if you've got the time and you've got the history and experience and study habits, you can get through as fast as you want to. But we also have on the other side of the bell curve, we have candidates who are like, either I have learning challenges or disabilities, or I'm distracted, I have challenge focusing, I got a really busy practice, I'm new to the business, for whatever reason, I need to move at a more methodical pace. Fine, no problem. I just didn't want either one of these groups, these tails, to really affect in a negative way the others. So that's a big reason why it's fully asynchronous. Again, study wherever, whenever. Why do I say that? Because you can download everything. The only thing that you really have to be online to do is to download the material and to pass the course tests, which I'll show you in just a second. All right, there's a big one. Study time. I already talked about the two tails. Not really fat tails. They're pretty thin tails on either side of that bell curve. That being said, 100 to 200 hours is very normal to have, almost no doubt, according to what our candidates tell us after they get certified, because we survey all of you. We survey all of you one time immediately after you've taken the cert exam your first time, pass or fail. Again, most of ours pass on the first attempt, but we want to know a lot of things. And 100 to 200 hours, that catches a vast majority of the population. So when you're thinking about, okay, how do I budget for this time-wise, and how does this fit in over my next 6 or maybe 12 months? 100 to 200. If you're like, I've been in the business a while, I've taken investment courses, maybe you even have an investment certification, then I think you're probably looking at 100 hours or less. If you're new to the business, never taken an investment course before, that kind of thing, then you're probably looking at 200 or more. And if you don't know, just pencil in 150 and you can make adjustments as you go. So yeah, clearly depends on all those unique variables to each of the candidates. But again, I think as you see at the bottom, I think one of the biggest things is you're going to move through fast or slow based on yourself. We're going to give you all kind of guidelines, best practices, guardrails, even 30, 60, and 90 study schedules, study schedules. So you've got all these tools, but you're gonna want to move at your own pace. All right, let's talk about the course on this page and then the test prep on the next page. So our program has two parts: the course, think of that as part 1 or part A, and the test prep. Think of that as part B. I don't even want you thinking about the certification exam till you spend 20 to 40 hours. So publicly we say 30 to 40, although I guess this is public, so I just said 20, but it's not going to take you any more than 40 hours to go through the course. That's watch the videos and take a series of tests, because you're not in front of us, we're not together. We need to have some assessment tool for you to actually say you completed this. Now, granted, it's a non-degree, non-academic credit course at School of Management Executive Education, but we still need some assessment of you. So it's these series of tests after the videos at the course level. And that's just a nice warm-up for you on the testing side, the assessment side. I do, as you'll see in the program itself, I do want you taking all those videos seriously. I want you taking notes. I don't want you to over-analyze them, but I want you to take them seriously, go through. That's about 30 hours. Although if this is review for you, you can just speed it up 1.5 times, right? So there are some things you can do that I show you in the course. But 30 to 40 hours, that's really all I want you spending at the course level. Then you move on to the test prep. So after you finish right now it's 11 required course tests in the course level. Then we're going to send an email to you. Hey, Jim, congratulations, you passed the Yale course. We are sending your name to IWI, and now all your test prep is going to populate for you. By the way, we use a lot of video lessons, both at the course and the test prep level. We do have a readings library of over, I think it's now 2,500 pages. My Wiley text, CIMA text, is one of those. And you have access to that in electronic form, and you can download the PDF versions of that. Investment Planning Answer Book by Jay Shine, a couple others that we have. And for those of you that are nervous about math, we use something called Math for Investments workbook by IWI decades ago, but not so ironically, most of the math that still shows up on the certification exam, you can actually see examples of it in that workbook. So we use that heavily as well. So anyway, you have access to all of those. We don't send out any hard copies of anything. You know, those kind of years are behind us, in part because we realize everybody's going to be different in terms of what they want to have a hard copy of. So you can download and print anything you want. It's just up to you. All right, so then your test prep populates. You'll see all the test prep. And yeah, you're going to spend, I have no doubt, most of you will spend most of your time with us in the test prep material. There's a lot more to go through versus in the course where we covered what we thought were primary and some overly complex things that we thought we should share in a classroom lecture would be a better way to explain it. But now we're into the minutia in test prep. We're going through those 500 topics. You're getting videos from me saying over the last year, because Eric is another program faculty member. He and I talk with you guys every week about like what you saw and what you didn't see on the exam. We can't talk about specific questions, wording that you remember, but we want to make sure we're on the money as best as we can. So again, test prep schedules, if you want to take our recommendation on how to start anyway. Most of our candidates say, yeah, I started using one of those, but then I just kind of customized. I went a little slower, a little faster from what I originally thought. So that's fine. You just take any of these tools and use them the best way you can. We do have very specific study guidance. I've done this for, again, almost 20 years and many thousands of candidates. I've seen what to do and what not to do when you are preparing for this exam. So I share anything and everything that I know in that regard. So there are 20 sections in those 5 domains I showed you earlier, a few slides ago. So you're going to have content to review in each one of the 20 sections. You're just going to go through those, take some practice questions after each section, after you get through my video and readings or going back to the lectures if you need to. And then you just move on to the next one. And it's, rinse and repeat over and over again. 1,600 test prep slides that are in my videos. And those are really the cornerstone for studying for this certification exam. You do not want to skip out on any of those. I know it's a bunch, but that being said, you're going to use your readings as your supplemental material. You're going to go back into the course lectures for a verbal explanation if you need it. But the test prep slides are really meant to be chunked down. A lot of our candidates take those and create study notes, flashcards, those kind of things. That's what I want you doing. And then there's over 1,000 practice questions. So between the course, most of those are good questions in prep for the certification exam. The practice questions in each one of the 20 sections and our full-length mock exam that's timed. That's over 1,000 practice questions. That's really all you need. You don't need any more than that. I don't want you overstudying questions that are just not going to be relevant or helpful. So I think we've got the right number of questions. I'm much more interested in quality of practice questions than I am quantity. And as you can see there at the bottom, like if you do everything we ask and you go through all the practice questions, you've done around 8 mock exams worth of questions. They were just in different formats. So we encourage you to do all of the questions we give you. All right. I always get a kick out of seeing this lady so happy. I imagine she just took the exam and she passed, as opposed to she's getting ready for it. But regardless, 120 questions, all multiple choice. 110 are scored, so 10 are beta, unscored items. All the certifications do that. You won't know which ones those are. I'll give you some ideas and helpful hints as you go through our study guidance in the program. You've got 4 hours to take it. You can do it in a Pearson testing center, which I recommend most of you do. Pass rates are definitely higher when you go on site and test versus you test in your pajamas in your home study or your living room. There are a number of reasons for that I talk about in the course as well. But you have your choice. You can do either one. There's no cost difference for the two. Calculator policy, you will need a financial calculator. All of the 12 or 15 models that are allowed are in the candidate handbook. Again, send me an email, jim.dobbs@yale.edu, and I'll be happy to send that to you. But look, here are the two most popular. I've got the old school HP 12C, and if you have that, probably means you're old like me, but that will work. That's fine. I think that's one of the better ones. It's just, it's got a really tough learning curve, so I don't recommend it if you're just going to use a calculator for this exam. The HP 10B2 Plus and the TI VA2 Plus, those are the two most common. You can go to TVM Calcs, as in time value of money, tvmcalcs.com, free website. Professor out of Colorado developed that and maintains that. It's awesome. So if you need a refresher on your financial calculator, it'd be best to do that before you start. I mean, you can do it while you're in our program too, but go spend half an hour and an hour. He has a whole lot of different financial calculators and about 12 to 15 really common, sometimes multi-layered steps, sample problems, where he actually shows you on your calculator what buttons you need to press and what the order, if the order is important, etc. So go to tvmcalcs.com if you need a little primer on your financial calculator. All right, we already talked about a little bit about pass rates. We can't share specific information. You need to go to IWI's website, and here's the link there, and you'll get this next week. And these are live links, so you could just click right through to them. That being said, you can just go to IWI's website, go into the CIMA section. There's a drop down and there's a couple of tabs on exam. Go in there and you can see the most up-to-date information on national pass rates. Well, not national, overall pass rates. And then, like I mentioned, the significant majority of candidates choose our program, and I think there's a number of reasons why they do that. But that being said, we would love to have you come join us at Yale, but we only want you to do it if this is the right fit. If for some other reason other programs are better for you, then go there. We mostly we just want you to get CIMA certified, but love to have you come join us at Yale if we seem to be a good fit for you. All right, where's my help? Very important. This is a self-study course. It's built that way. It's priced that way, not for academic credit at Yale, as I mentioned earlier. So there are limits to how we can help you. But suffice to say, from 8 to 5 Eastern, Monday through Friday, the Yale and Dobbs teams are available to help you. I forgot my password. What's the URL again? How much time do I have left in my window? All those kinds of things. Canvas, we use Canvas, the most popular LMS in the world now. And I like it, and I like the version we have. I've used some bells and whistles, but I've kept it pretty clean so you can learn it very easily and learn your way around. But the Canvas Tech Help is available pretty much 24/7 in a number of different ways. And I think from my experience with candidates, what you would probably be reaching out to them for is, hey, I was in the program yesterday and all the videos worked fine, but I'm at home this weekend and these videos are not showing up well. What's going on? Well, it's either a browser issue, could be an operating system issue, could be blockers that you've got, could be a number of reasons, and Canvas Tech is there to help you. Discussion board is really helpful. Study groups do form through that. We're not going to share your personal or your contact information or even your name with anybody. But if you want to reach out, and you'll see in our discussion board, there's a specific thread for that, introduce yourself and say, hey, I'm interested in doing a weekly or bi-weekly study group, in the evenings or on the weekends or whatever, just to help myself keep accountable. And I just learn better that way. You can reach out, put your information out there to create your own study group. Discussion board, I've got threads for every single one of the sections, all 20 of them, and a handful of other things, including post-exam thoughts from those of you who just tested. Again, can't talk about specific questions you remember seeing on the exam, but just about everything else fair game. We monitor that to make sure none of us run afoul of the IWI certification rules. But the discussion board is very helpful. And I leave the discussions up there as an FAQ if I think they're really good or really helpful. So if it's on a commonly asked question, I can't tease apart these two behavioral biases and like how I might be tested, or I keep confusing the SML and the CML or whatever in the CAPM model. I'm going to leave those up because, you can go to the discussion board, do a quick, Control F search on your keyboard and go see if anybody else has asked about it. It's been so many years and so many thousands of candidates now. You probably are not the first one to ask whatever you think you want to ask. And the reason I say that's important is, as you see here, you do have what we call lifelines, a 12-question content help limit. So that is where we, kind of have to draw the line and say, hey, we can only handle so many content questions, like we don't offer private tutors or full access to our program faculty because we're just not built that way. That being said, we tested that out in the early days, and even up till now, over the last year, less than 5%, and we track it, less than 5% of our candidates in our program ask their whole 12 questions. Because like when you hit 12, or really about 11, we say, hey, Jim, you've hit 11. Are you sure you want to burn one of your last 2 questions on this? Because you've only got 2 to go. But yeah, less than 5%. So it's really not a big deal. That being said, if you are an individual and you're like, I get it, and the odds are in my favor, but Jim, that is my preferred method of learning, is I want or need like a lot of interaction, maybe in all 20 sections perhaps, with a faculty to help me get through that, then we are unfortunately not a good choice. You would not want to choose us in that regard. And then questions also on study plans or strategies. Jim, I'm 20 hours in, I'm 40 hours in, or I'm 10 hours into my test prep. Am I doing the right thing? Here's my plan. And Eric and I can help you determine whether, yeah, that's a good plan, keep going, or I would modify that in this kind of a way. Or my time strategy. I'm here in the test prep. I want to test in 6 weeks. Do you think that's doable? No limit on questions like that. All right, great faculty. For sake of time, I'll let you look through the full bios and the full list. This is just a handful. I will mention Toby. Toby and I have worked together for 20 years now in a number of different programs, a couple of different universities, not just CIMA. He's fabulous. He's our lead instructor in terms of content on the course side. And if you just want to get an idea of his personality, you could just go to this little link, cool fireside chat, informal chat with Toby that I saw a few months ago or something like that. It just gives you an insight to his personality, since he's going to be doing easily half of the teaching at the course level. I think you would just want to make sure that you can kind of develop this, maybe not a rapport, but you feel comfortable with his style there. John Nersessian's outstanding. He does a lot of the nuts and bolts on the calculations in the course level. And then we've got a legend. It's wonderful it's an honor just to have Dr. Ibbotson do the history of financial markets, stocks, bonds, bills, and inflation. Some of you are like me, you probably got his books up on your shelf. So it's great to have him in there for the history view in that regard. All right, we take the feedback very seriously. We want to make this the best program it can be. We're not perfect, we're never going to be, but we work this really hard. And the only way we could do this is with your feedback, both quantitatively and qualitatively. So we track a whole lot of things. Kevin tracks a lot, just so we can make sure we're not missing anything. We can limit the blind sides that we have in terms of helping you understand, not memorize, understand this content and pass that test on your first attempt. All right, I mentioned earlier a link. You can just actually go to IWI's website, go into CIMA. The very first page you see without even scrolling in CIMA certification is, are you ready to apply for candidacy? Click here. So when you're ready, that's how you will apply. Now you can get to that link through our website or Yale CIMA program website as well, but it's just going to take you to IWI. So that's what you're going to do. It takes them about a week to process your application, give or take. And then it takes us a week, actually, even after you've been approved. There is a formal process to get you set up in the Yale system and up and online. So about 2 weeks. This is not a quick, again, this is full-blown accreditation, premier universities involved. So it's about a 2-week process to get you up and running. And then there's our contact information. So again, feel free to send me an email if you want the candidate handbook, the formula sheet, and the full-blown content list. Happy to get that to you. And Rachel and Kelly, those guys are available over at Yale to answer any questions about Yale School of Management or other executive education programs. Well, let's see. Hopefully we've got some questions, because I know we've got a little time left.
Okay, yes, we have one question here. It's in your experience with prior candidates, are there typical aspirational job roles that CIMA candidates end up in? For example, CFA for portfolio managers, CFP for financial planners, etc.
Yeah, good question. So I'll give you the short and then I'll expound on it a little bit. So the short answer is yeah, just about everything other than those three for CFAs would be appropriate in the investments world for CIMA. Really meant for client-facing financial advisors, but just think financial advisors, that covers worldwide. That covers a lot of financial and investment professionals, financial planners, investment advisors, investment consultants, different defined categories, investment service people, you're servicing the needs of your bank clients or customers, investment sales professionals. In the US, they're called wholesalers, and in some other countries as well, but just investment salespeople. CIMA is great for that because you're going to be selling into all of these professionals we're talking about, and CIMA was developed for them. So yeah, why wouldn't you want to know what they need to know? Then hopefully you can better explain your products and services that you offer from your management company. So I think that kind of covers most of them. That's not to say that CIMA designees don't manage institutional money. Sure, I mean I was part of that. I won't say which one, but a rather large medical pension fund for a county, and I was part of that investment team. But it's not like I was picking individual stocks, bonds, securities. That is more like what a CFA will do. A CIMA kind of sits on top. It's a simplistic analogy, but I think it works. CIMA sits on top and hires CFAs because the CFAs are doing the nitty gritty dirty work, if you will, picking those individual securities, scouring through the financial statements every week. What assets go in? What assets should we sell? What are we going to hold and wait and see on? The CIMA designee is more working with the client, making the allocation recommended, choosing the investment strategy, because strategic asset allocation is not the only game in town. There's tactical and there's all kinds of other things that we go through in the program. So that maybe helps differentiate CIMA from the others as well. Okay, I rambled enough. Hopefully that helped.
Okay, yep, looks like that's it for questions, Jim.
All right, well, hopefully that helped. If you have any personal questions, feel free to reach out to me. And Rachel, I'll turn it back over to you.
Right. Thank you so much, Jim. And thank you everyone for joining us. For more information, you can visit our website. I will drop the link in the chat. Or you can reach out to us directly with any additional questions. This webinar, including the video recording and the slides, will be shared in the coming days. While we hope to see you in our program, we really hope that you find a program and a path that's the best fit for you. Thank you again for joining us. This concludes the webinar.